challenging our temperature in the body is what sets and resets our metabolism, our nervous system. So temperature is actually very essential for our health. If we don't challenge our temperature, our body will think that you are in a dormant part of your life. So you don't really need to do anything. You just need to compact and store your fat until the next crisis comes, because that is also how we are built.
So it seems it seems to me like the thing that we need to do is to go into stress to get rid of the stress.
Yes.
Is it correct?
Yeah. So stress can be many things. Often, if we go back in time and think about why was stress such a bad word? When people hear me say, oh, you just have to stress yourself a little bit in a healthy way, people are like, ooh, do you really mean I need to stress myself? Because we've always heard from the doctor that you are stressed. And that is said in a bad way. And that is because the science, when we go back in time, we got funding in research to find out how we could get healthy from a disease. And it was always the cause of you being stressed. So it kind of was labeled in a bad way. So it's bad stress, right? It's when everything went wrong. But the thing is that there is also good stress, and we haven't really been taught what that is in society. So good stress is, for example, exercise. From exercise, you get an increase in your cortisol levels, which is good. That quick spike in cortisol is telling your body, now you have to do something to survive this challenge. And this challenge is making your cells stronger and making your heart beat faster, and it's lowering your cholesterol, it's lowering your fat levels, it's eating from your white fat cells, and that is the depot that we also want to, get rid of or get smaller. So it's the sense of that small kind of stressors are building your metabolism better or more healthy or more flexible, so you can get further away from getting diseases such as type 2 diabetes, and it could also be other cardiovascular diseases or conditions. So good stress is exercise, it's cold and heat exposure, which I love to talk about because that is part of my research. Yeah.
So it seems that on the other side of the stress is comfort.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me to see what we have done in the history. So we were striving for comfort. We were trying to find it for a long time, and it seems that right now it's starting to bother us.
Yeah.
It's starting to makes us weak, sick, and all those bad things. But when we are thinking about stress, as you mentioned earlier, we are not only thinking about the body, but the mind as well. So one of the biggest problems that I see in today's world is overstimulation, the speed of life. You were mentioning to me just recently how busy you are. I am busy as well. Sometimes I feel like I'm running, like my video is on 1.5x speed or 2x speed. So does the protocols that you advise, is this correct word, advise, are they attacking the stress that is created in the mind and in the body as well, those protocols, those activities?
Yeah, I don't think that we actually should divide that kind of stress, because what we also know from physiology is that if you can lower the stress in your body and you just focus on doing that, you will also lower your stress in your mind. So by preparing your body to get better at coping with stress physically, you also in your mind widen the window for how much stress you can cope with, so mentally. And it's kind of funny, and I've studied this because I wanted to really understand this, and I wrote about this in my latest book. And
what's the name of the book? Is it Winter Spring?
No, that's the first one.
Oh, that's the first one.
The second one is called Thermalist.
Thermalist.
Yeah. So, and what I discovered here was that we have a very sharp increase in noradrenaline when we go into cold water, right? So adrenaline is making us more alert. It's the sympathetic activation of our nervous system, and that is important for us to survive some kind of challenge that is coming, something that we fear or something that is potentially dangerous to us. And yeah, well, cold water could be if you didn't do it deliberately, you can say. So the body will react to that and increase the noradrenaline. But what is interesting here is that is also the same pathway in the body that is helping you cope with the stress in your mind. So it's actually our pain pathway as well. So it helps reducing the way you, how sharp you feel about your pain, how sharp you feel about your stress. Maybe I can explain it in that way. So as soon as you train that pathway of being better at responding to that stress, in that pathway of noradrenaline, you would actually widen the window for how much stress you can cope with in your mind. So I think that is very interesting that we can actually see that there's a physiological explanation for this, and that is always what I'm seeking when people say, well, I don't know, years ago, maybe 10 years ago when I was studying this, I do remember people saying, oh, I feel so relief, so much relief from going into cold water, and they feel euphoric and they feel no pain in the body. Is that because? And I got those questions already back then. But is this because of? And they said all sorts of things. But is this because I'm just thinking myself happier and therefore I cannot feel the pain? Well, it could be an explanation, but I do see today that there are better explanations for that, and they're actually physiological. So we can explain the way that people feel about going into cold water, even the happiness.
So can you describe to us what is the Søberg Principle?
The Søberg Principle, yes, I can explain that. I didn't come up with a name. I just want to say that.
Who did?
Who did?
Andrew Hubermana.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, he asked me years ago now. Well, he asked me how does the cold water and the way that you go into the water, how does that fit with metabolism? How is that affecting our metabolism? And I'm a metabolic scientist, so of course that was interesting to me to see how can this spike of hormetic stress, so short-term stress, how is that affecting our metabolism? So what I figured, and a little bit by coincidence, because I did not have access to a sauna many years ago when I started my research, but people said, you need to try it out to understand what you're researching. And I was like,
makes sense.
Well, okay then. So I tried it out, and I live close to the water. So what we did, me and my husband, was while I was preparing my protocols for studying this, and it's many years ago today, and it was just a trial and error thing. I had to figure out, okay, so what happens in the body? Why are people so happy after coming up from the jetty, and people walking back to their houses, and they looked fantastic, they sounded fantastic, they were so happy. But what exactly was going on in the body, I did not see, I did not understand. So when I went to the water and made a quick swim or a dip, I went back to my house and I did not have a sauna. And what I figured out was that if I was just sitting down on my couch, and I think many people have tried this, you would start to shiver. And this is what is called the afterdrop. So, and if you want, I can explain that if you want me to do that. But based on the afterdrop, I was just thinking, what happens then if I go into a sauna? So I made another trial where I just went to the sauna or took a very hot bath afterwards. And this I have explained also a lot, but there's definitely a difference on how you end your routine. If you end your routine on cold and you actually keep moving, don't sit down on your couch and just completely still. If you keep moving, you could be cleaning, you could be whatever, going for a walk, or just, keep moving in your house if you don't want to get too cold. then you are still forcing your body to activate your metabolism to keep yourself warm. So if you don't go into a hot shower, if you don't go into a sauna, you end on the cold, in the cold water, and then you just keep moving. And that, you can say, principle about naturally warming yourself up by forcing your body to do that work, that is helping your body to activate your metabolism, activating your brown fat, making that more accessible and more activated, more flexible, so you would actually have a faster metabolism in the end. And how you can see that is by doing it regularly and keep doing that work. And eventually you will feel faster and faster after that cold dip, after that ending on the cold, that you get much faster warm. So in the beginning when I did this, when I went to the water, did the dip, went home, it took me 2, 3, 4 hours just to get back to my like core temperature.
To warm
normal,
up.
Normal temperature. I don't know if you tried that, but now today it takes me only like an hour or so, and I will feel I'm back to normal.
Yeah, usually people after the cold, they usually try to warm themselves up as fast as possible, because it feels
natural. Yeah, it feels natural.
It doesn't feel comfortable. Yeah. So basically this is what Andrewa Hubermana described as Søberg's principle.
The Søberg Principle.
After the exposure, deliberate exposure to the cold, just stay that way. Don't try to warm yourself up.
Externally.
Let the body do it.
Yeah. Let the body do its work. You can help it by keep moving, walking around, or do some exercises or something like that. But by doing this, you are really working on your metabolism. It's like an extra workout. And I always say, don't miss out on it, because it's kind of like a 10 times metabolic increase that you will have, which I have not measured 10 times. I'm just saying that you will have a major impact on your metabolism, because you're not only moving at the same time, but you're also forcing your body to activate both your brown fat cells and your muscle cells to generate that heat to get your organs back to the normal temperature. And if there's something that your body will react to immediately and is very potent to attack your metabolism, to increase it, it's temperature. So if you want a fast metabolism, you have to be open, at least to access, to expose yourself or challenge yourself to colder or hotter temperature, because then you are attacking exactly that metabolism, which is almost dormant in our modern life, which you asked about also.
So what are the benefits of cold exposure?
There are so many benefits, which,
and especially when you are describing it through the Søberg Principle, so staying in the cold.
So the benefits of cold exposure, there are actually many, but there are also many which I would love there to be more studies on. But the ones that are connected with the Søberg Principle are the brown fat activation and the metabolic activation.
What is brown fat?
So the brown fat, not many people know what that is.
Yeah, I heard it a lot of times, but I really don't know.
To explain that in simple ways, I would say, you know about the white fat. Most people know that we have something called the white fat. It is on your belly, it's on your thighs. It's often too big a depot. That is the problem with the modern lifestyle. So we want to get rid of that, or we want to have less of that. So that is our fat depot. And our body is trying to clinch onto it because we are stressed, okay? So we have something else called the brown fat, and it is located very close to our central nervous system. It is activated most potently by cold temperatures. Could be cold air, cold water, just cold. So as soon as we get cold on the skin, the brown fat is activated. And the meaning with the brown fat is to keep our temperature stable in the body and to increase our metabolism. So in that sense, the brown fat is using energy in the body to keep you temperature stable. And white fat is the depot. It's storing the energy. So white fat is storing energy and brown fat is using energy. Okay? So the brown fat can actually eat off the white fat. So the brown fat,
that's what we want.
That's what we want. We want exactly that. And that is what happens when you go into cold, when you go into heat. It's also happening in the heat because the body is kind of like also a thermostat, right? We cannot get too warm either. So that is also a problem. So if you want to like activate your metabolism, heat is also really good. And your brown fat will activate so that you will get rid of the heat. So you start to sweat faster.
So it regulates the temperature of the body.
Regulates temperature of the body, regulates your metabolism. And the more you do this, the more ready it becomes. It becomes more mitochondria rich so that it can do it much faster. So you will be saved faster, you can say, from the weird challenging that we are doing today. Yeah.
So do you turn on the heat in your house or don't?
Well, I would say if you look at, what is
the temperature in your house?
In my house,
yes.
It's 22 degrees Celsius, and in our bedroom, it is 19 degrees. So it's colder or cooler in the bedroom, and there's a reason for this, and it's very scientific, and I think that is actually something we should tell your audience.
Let's do it.
So when you sleep cold in your bedroom, there is a study, I find this very amazing. It's a study from 2016 where a group of scientists have measured the brown fat of a group of people who were pre-diabetic or diabetic. So not a perfect insulin sensitivity, not a perfect glucose tolerance. They had them sleeping in a room at 24 degrees 1 month, scanned their brown fat to see how much do they have. And then the next month, they slept in the bedroom at 19 degrees Celsius. And what they found in that month was that the brown fat volume increased. And they also found that the insulin sensitivity in these adults who did not have perfect insulin sensitivity in the first place, but it was actually improved. So only 1 month of sleeping cooler could actually improve your metabolism, put you further away of risk of getting type 2 diabetes. And you did not even have to do anything. You just turned down the temperature in your bedroom just a bit.
Do you know that Croatians are very scared of the draft?
The what?
Draft, the wind.
Oh, the wind.
The grandmas are always saying to us when we were kids or moms, keep away from the wind, keep away from the draft. It's very dangerous. You will get sick. So it will be very hard for us to maybe influence the people to go into the cold more. So
well, the thing is that it's very cultural not the wind.
Thing.
Yeah, I understand that. That is, I've heard that before.
But it's a meme in Croatia, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Really,
well,
it's a meme.
So people do know that.
Stay away from the draft. It's very dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I have one more question regarding the white and brown fat. So, when we are thinking about the visceral fat, what kind of fat is that? Is it part of the white fat or?
Yes. So the visceral fat is very dangerous, actually. So it's part of the white fat, and it's located around our inner organs. The thing is that when people stop exercising and they stop eating healthy, and they start eating more processed food and become more sedentary, and they just don't take care of themselves, right? They might not see that the white fat depot that I described before on your belly and thighs, and it might not be that they see that immediately, but you can be sure that as soon as you see it grow on your belly, on your thighs, you can be sure that you already built a depot around your inner organs. And the visceral fat sits there and on your belly, and that is definitely what is associated with cardiovascular diseases and metabolic diseases. Definitely type 2 diabetes, there is a link or a direct association with that.
So one of the first benefits that you mentioned with doing the deliberate cold exposure was to activation of the brown fat.
Yeah.
So what would be the next key benefits?
What should I say here? Well, definitely metabolism, as I said, but also stress. So I described before, so it's both the bodily stress, you can say the physiological stress that you lower. By lowering chronic stress in your body, you make it easier for you to lose weight. So when people say, do you lose weight by doing cold water immersion? And I'm like, well, that's not the point. The point is not whether the cold water per se is going to help to make you lose weight. It is helping you make your metabolism more flexible so that you because it is lowering your stress level, cortisol levels in your body. And as soon as you lower your cortisol levels in the body, you help your body be more in a state where it utilizes glucose or fat instead of utilizing only glucose. So it is easier for you to lose weight. So if the body is sticking on to the white fat because it's stressed, then you cannot lose the white fat. And you would be fighting a lot.
Is it because of the high cortisol as well?
It is because of the high cortisol levels. High cortisol levels makes your body think, well, you are in a stressed situation. We need to survive whatever is coming. So we clinch on to every calorie in the body because you need to have that depot, that storage for whatever dinosaur is coming and running for you. And that is just how we were built. So for you to help you lose weight, you can use cold and heat as a way to lower stress, and in that way get rid of that cortisol level, get rid of that high heart rate you have, and you would be more flexible in your metabolism. I don't know if people understand the word, but it's like when you have a metabolism that is more flexible, you help your body switch from not only using glucose, but to using fat as fuel. So you can actually lose weight faster. So making your body quick at swifting a fuel source to spend energy, then your body would be able to faster losing the calories. So you prime your body for a more flexible metabolism by doing the temperature excursions of the cold and the heat. So in that sense, and together with exercise, you have the perfect combination. I mean, that is just the package that I would say the modern lifestyle need today.
So basically the body becomes much more efficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much more efficient.
Yeah. So if people don't have, for example, cold baths, ice baths, whatever in their homes, what would be a standard protocol for someone that is easy to maintain, for example, in the standard household?
In a standard household, do you do any?
Yeah, I have a sauna in my house as well.
Ooh. What kind?
A Finnish.
A Finnish one?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Finnish sauna. I use it regularly.
Okay.
I try to use it a few times a week.
Good.
But I don't have an ice bath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I only have a shower.
You have a shower.
Yeah. And that's
can you get cold water here in Croatia?
Yes.
How cold can it get?
I suppose during the winter times it's around 15 degrees.
15?
Probably. Around 15.
In winter, what in summer?
I'm not sure what would be. I never tried to measure it, but
No.
yeah,
Of course not.
I don't know. I did not do it, but I suppose when it's winter times, so Croatia has, especially the continental part of the Croatia, it has extreme winters as well. So it gets -5, -10, -15 degrees. Not on the coast as well, but
Oh Jesus,
here,
that's cold.
yeah, but it's not as cold like at your place. Yeah.
Well, I think
In Denmark, it must be colder than here in Croatia.
I mean -degrees. We don't have that very often.
Really?
Not for a very long time
Wow.
in Denmark. We just
Yeah,
have a
in
lot of
Croatia we
wind.
have
Denmark is the flattest country in the world.
Yeah. Really?
Yes.
Wow. That will be the biggest nightmare of Croatians. Don't.
Exactly.
No wind, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So for someone I suppose that a lot of people don't have saunas as well. Maybe they can go to their gym or wellness place that have saunas as well. But for someone who has regular shower at homes, or maybe a bathtub or something like that, so what can they do?
So people can definitely do some kind of cold and heat exposure at home. So one of the things that I mentioned before is that just sleeping in a cooler room would actually help your metabolism. So that is like number one, turn down the heat in your bedroom. You don't need 24 degrees Celsius in your bedroom. It's way too hot anyways. So getting used to it can be a little bit difficult for some, but main thing is having warm feet when you go to bed. So if you are turning down the heat in your bedroom and you feel, that it is difficult to fall asleep, well, maybe take a warm foot bath or something before you go to bed. Excuse me. That will help you.
Why do we need to keep our feet warm? You said warm.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So that signals to your body that you are ready to go to sleep, and because the body will then try to get rid of heat and you are comfortable. Cold feet signals to your brain that you are not comfortable, you cannot fall asleep. So having warm feet is a good thing for falling asleep, apparently. So cooler rooms, cold showers, easy to do, apparently also here in Croatia. So cold water is per definition 15 degrees Celsius and down. Apparently you have cold weather here, so if you don't want to stand in the wind, you can try to find cover somewhere, but just standing outside or going around the block or something with it in a t-shirt can actually also activate your brown fat enough to make an impact if you do it continuously. And this is the key. If you do this just once, it doesn't really make a great impact on your life. Just like exercise, you need to have a routine with this. You need to do it consistently. You can also take a cold bath in your bathtub if you have one at home. So there is definitely ways that you can do this. You can go outside. You can sleep cold in your bedroom. You can take a cold shower. You can take an ice bath at home, or just cold water. You don't need ice. So there are ways to do this. Or you can visit maybe the local swim hall or something. Do you have these kind of things?
The local swim hall?
The community swim halls? No, you don't?
You mean in lakes or in
no, so a community like a swimming space.
Area.
Yeah, where you teach kids how to swim inside, indoor. Do you have these?
Swimming pools. You're thinking about
indoor
pools.
Swimming pools, yeah.
Yes, of course.
But with cold water.
I don't think so.
You don't have
I don't think that we have them so much.
This is a Danish thing, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. But we have this in Denmark where we teach our kids to swim, and the water is apparently pretty cold.
I think that Croatians are very afraid of the cold.
Yeah.
So it will be a challenge. But let us keep learning from you, and let us keep listening. So do you see any difference between, for example, cold shower, cold, or even on the other hand, cold immersion in the bathtub or some ice bath? Is that so much difference that we need to go in the bathtubs, or the shower is going to be fine?
I would say there are definitely some differences, and they are notable as well. So if you go into a cold shower, you would have the activation of your brown fat, because as soon as you get a little bit cold on your skin, you would activate your metabolism. So that is for sure. And you will also have the activation of noradrenaline in your brain. You will have the dopamine spike, especially in the beginning of this, because your body is going into that state of like alert. What is happening here? So you will have that in the beginning. But if you compare it to a cold water immersion, the cold water immersion is more activating also your parasympathetic part of your nervous system. So, and you do want that. That is the part where you will have an increase in serotonin. You will have lower heart rate. You will feel that peace of mind as soon as you're over the cold shock. the cold showers don't exactly give you that same stress relief, you can say, but it can give you some of the other things. So there's an overlap, but still there's some extra benefits of submerging into cold water. So up to the neck, I would say.
Yeah, so it's amazing that right now when I'm thinking about it, that we don't have so much. Even just next to us in Slovenia, they have a lot of those wellness places that have a lot of Finnish saunas or some other kinds of saunas as well, but cold plunges, or what have you said? Cold holes, is it?
Oh, well, in Denmark we have like swimming pools, but the cold plunges.
Cold plunges. Yeah, we don't have it too much in Croatia, unfortunately. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about the Croatian culture here. What do you use? You're fearful of the cold, it seems.
It seems. Yeah, it's a generational thing. I'm not sure why.
So you're saying younger people are more open to...
I see younger people becoming more open about it. So I have one funny anecdote. So I have a British friend, So
they are open to it.
Yes, much more. And so during the winter times, we tend to celebrate the New Year's Eve at our place here in Zagreb. So they come to us, and they as a family, they have 2 little girls. So basically, it's 0 or it's minus degrees during the New Year's Eve, and they are going outside on the terrace without their shoes, without their jackets, and he's telling their kids to go outside, that it's a normal thing to go without the jacket. They're staying for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and my kids and ourselves, we are in hats and everything. Oh, you will get sick. Come on, why are you doing this?
Oh no!
So it's a cultural thing, I see. Yeah. Maybe we need to break this spell somehow.
I don't know. Yeah, well, it's definitely a cultural thing. There's differences, but it might just be...
Serbia as well. Serbia, Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina as well.
Yeah. But maybe it's just because you also have warmer weather here, so we are used to in the north. We can escape it anyways.
The winter is coming.
Yeah, the winter is almost there. Like 8 months a year or so, we have cold weather. We might have like 1 or 2 months where it's like it is today here. The sun is shining, but not too much. So yeah, it's a Viking thing. It is really a Viking thing. We teach our kids to go outside in the cold. We don't always need a jacket. If you just go outside for a bit, go out and play. If you get used to the cold, you get adapted to it, your body will improve and generate its own heat. So we've actually been thinking this for hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's interesting that Croatians and all ex-Yugoslavian people here, we are very successful. I think that per capita, probably we are one of the best athletes in the world.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. What will happen if we start going into the cold more? I think it would be a good thing for the people here. But I wanted to ask you, how would you tie those activities, for example, cold exposure with the heat exposure, with saunas, and especially with the exercise? Do you see any? What is the in this protocol? What would be the first thing to do? Is it to have exercise of some kind, strength training or aerobic training, whatever, and then go to the cold, then go to heat? How do you go about it?
This is definitely something that I'm looking more into, and I don't think that we have like really good evidence what to do here. But there is some research showing that if you go directly from exercise directly into cold water, you would stop the inflammatory process of and stop TNF alpha, which we need to break, which is breaking the muscle fibers down and building them up again. And that is essentially what you want, especially if you are bodybuilding. in some way, whether you're doing it
for strength training. If you are strength training and you want to build your muscles, so whether that being in a smaller or bigger scale or for performance or just for aesthetics, doesn't really matter. If it's to you very important, then I would say wait a few hours or 4 hours, or even better, just do your cold plunges on another day, because then you're just making sure that you are not stopping that inflammatory process, which is helping your muscle building itself up again. So what if you do it before the strength training? Is there some benefits to it?
I don't really know what's really going on there. If I have to be completely honest, I can speculate something, but it's just not very scientific. So my opinion about that is just, so you go into a cold plunge before the strength training. I mean, depending on how you do that, or is it for performance, or is it... So it does give you a spike of energy, definitely. So that might make you energetic for whatever you're going to do. But on the other hand, you now have cold muscles. So you will have to start by warming them up. So if you have a lot of time, maybe. So, yeah.
So that is something that we can do. Go do strength training before the cold exposure, and then...
Yeah, and maybe just do it. If you do it after, then wait a bit. I don't think it's the end of the world if you look at how little impact it really has on building the muscles. But many people do work hard to build the muscles. So I do understand that they don't want to do it straight away. But if you do it on a regular basis, it's not going to do that big an impact.
So how do you arrange it in your life? How do you arrange exercise with cold and heat exposure?
Oh, I mix it all up because I have my own protocols for doing this. So when I go to the gym, we don't have a cold plunge in my gym, but we have a cold shower. And we have a small sauna. It is a dry sauna. So I use it in a way just to, have my last exposure after my training. Love to go straight into showering, and then I go to the sauna. Then the cold shower, and then back to the sauna, and back to the cold shower, and I end with that because I do want to give my metabolism that extra boost. Just cold showering just before I get home, because then I'm just also not feeling that afterburn as much after the exercise. And the exercise that I do is quite intense. So relaxing a bit in the sauna and then do the cold shower in between, that's the perfect protocol for me when I go to the gym.
So there are a lot of benefits of going back and forth between cold and
absolutely.
And the heat. Yeah.
Because imagine this, you are pushing your metabolism to one extreme side of your temperature, and then you're pushing it to the other one. So of course there's also some safety in this that people need to think about. First of all, don't do this if you have heart diseases. If you know that you have that, if you have arrhythmias to your heart, then you don't want to do this, or you want to ask your doctor whether that is fine for you to do. So just be safe around it. And also make sure that you don't do this alone. Make sure that you always have people around you. Don't go and do alone a cold plunge in the morning at 5 a.m. in your garden and there's no one else around. I'm just saying that for safety reasons, we have always said, and I take this from the culture of where I come from, we always say, don't go winter swimming alone. And that's just a precaution. It's always good to have someone around, not because you have to be very fearful around it, but what if you don't know that you have high blood pressure or too low blood pressure? And these are the things that I would recommend that you measure before you start this kind of exercise for your metabolism. So, but if you don't know, you don't know, right?
So there is a rule that I read about from your protocols. It's called 1157 rule. What does it mean?
This comes from my research. 1157 is how much cold per week and how much heat per week. So 11 minutes of cold water immersion per week divided on 2 to 3 days, and 57 minutes of heat per week in a sauna, also divided on these same 2 to 3 days per week. So alternating between the cold and the heat. And if you divide that out, it corresponds to going into the water only for a few minutes and into the sauna also only for like 15 to maximum 20 minutes at a time per session. So with this kind of very little dose, you can say, of exposure. So you don't have to think about, oh my God, I have to take this temperature exercise into my life and now I have to put aside so many extra hours for that. It's actually very potent. So lucky for you, if you're busy, you can do this without putting aside too much time. And my protocol here just shows that you can get away with very little and still get the benefits. So the benefits that we saw was more activation of the brown fat. We did see an improvement in insulin sensitivity, and we did see a faster glucose clearance from the blood, which means that people are improving on their metabolic flexibility, priming their metabolism to be faster at getting rid of the sugar in the bloodstream. And that is exactly what we want. That is exactly what I would love to see as a metabolic scientist. Can we use this as a way to get healthier, essentially? And apparently, with very little, you can.
So what is happening with the blood pressure when we go into the heat and cold?
So acutely, you mean?
Yeah. And acutely and in the long term.
Okay, so acutely, when you go into the cold water, your blood pressure will go up slightly, not much, and your heart rate actually also don't go up a lot because you are also activating your diving reflex, and that is a response, a reflex that makes your heart rate actually go slower. So in that sense, your blood pressure doesn't increase a lot. It might feel like it but if you're anxious about, I'm going down in this cold water and maybe you haven't done it before and you're completely newbie to this, then you would feel anxious about what is coming. And that might get your heart rate up and that might get your blood pressure up a little bit because of the anxiety. But in general, we see from physiological research that going into the cold water doesn't increase your blood pressure and also not your heart rate significantly or
cold and heat as well.
Well, it does in the heat. That's something else. So in the cold, because you're going in and you are activating your sympathetic part of your nervous system, it does increase noradrenaline, and so the stress hormones in your body and chemicals in your brain, but you don't have that significant increase in heart rate or in cortisol levels. So it's really depending on how you do it. So the cold will short term not increase your blood pressure. Long term, it would actually decrease your blood pressure. And this is where it's interesting for me. What happens short term is of course interesting, and we need to know what's going on for safety and for also benefits that is happening today and tomorrow. What can I feel today? Is this good for me? You want to have that feeling that it's doing something good today, right? But knowing long term what it does is really where we see the benefits. So what we see in my studies is that the blood pressure is, not only my studies, other studies too, in cold water, is that the blood pressure goes down, which is also preventing you from getting all these lifestyle diseases that are the most potent killers in the world, and that's type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases of many sorts. And then we have the heat, as you just asked about. So when you go into a sauna, your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up because you're starting to sweat, and the body needs to get rid of the heat in the body, and that is by sweating. And the only way that you can start sweating is by increasing the heart rate and the blood pressure. So that is how heat works acutely on your blood pressure. So long term, we also see from Finnish sauna studies that your blood pressure also goes down. So eventually it just shows the outcomes of a better metabolism. And I mean...
So if we are not tying it together, so the cold and heat exposure with the exercise. So, for example, we exercise on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and in the middle of those days we go to heat and to cold, so to sauna and the cold baths. When do you advise people, especially the people that are starting with this, what do you advise when to do it? Is it to do it in the morning? Is it to do it after the work, in the evening? What is the best option? And do you recommend to tie the heat and cold together in a session?
Many good questions. So if you're new to this and you're just starting out and you are trying to figure out whether you want to find a swimming pool or a cold plunge somewhere, you can just start in your sauna, in your cold shower at home. Take the shower that you usually do and just crank it over to cold. And just stand there for a few seconds. You could maybe challenge yourself with a 30 days cold shower challenge or something. So when you have done that and you feel, okay, I managed that, then you can maybe go on to a cold water immersion. I mean, you have a lot of water here in Croatia. You must have
a lot of lakes.
Lakes, yes, exactly.
Sea as well.
Yes, so you can use that. And use that in the winter and the summer. And I guess you have cool water, so...
Definitely.
Find some water where you can go in safely and you can go out safely. Bring a friend, your neighbor, your sister, your mom, your dad, your older kids or whatever. So bring someone with you, so you are always two. So cold shower, good place to start. Then you can move on to something in nature or maybe find a gym. Is
it do we do it in the morning or do we do it in the afternoon?
I would say...
Do you have any studies on the part of the day or not?
You can start in the morning, but if you are new to this, it's quite intense to start your mornings with cold because your temperature during the day. So your temperature has a circadian rhythm, right? Okay. And it's very low in the morning, or the lowest in the morning. So starting out with cold can be a little bit difficult, but you can do it.
Yeah, so the body is colder in the morning.
Yeah, it is colder in the morning. So to get started with this, I would say see if you can find like midday or early afternoon. If you do it in the evenings where you have maybe the highest temperature in your body, then you might get so much energy out of that, dopamine and noradrenaline in your body. It feels like drinking maybe 4 espressos. You might be feeling a little bit difficult falling asleep. So I always say, if you're new to this, don't start out in the evenings. Try to see if you can find it fits in your day and do it when you have time for it. So don't get hung up with like, you have to do it in the morning, you have to do it in the afternoon. But look at when are you sensitive maybe to drinking coffee or caffeine in some sort. So I always say, I don't drink coffee after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually I time my cold immersions before 5 o'clock. So if I do it after, I do have a little bit difficulties like falling asleep because I'm just so hyped, just how it is. But for some people, it doesn't really matter. So some people are sensitive to it, other people are not, and we do need more studies on that.
Yeah, so for example, if we have sauna and cold exposure of some kind at homes or gyms or wherever, so I suppose then that the right protocol would be to go firstly in the heat and then finish with the cold and heat up organically. Yeah. That would be the best case scenario.
Best case scenario, heat up naturally. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you mentioned as well, I wanted to ask one more thing regarding the health concerns for some people before they try to do it. So, for example, for people that are taking pills for the high blood pressure, is it safe for them to do cold and heat exposures?
I love that question.
Because I see a lot of people having problems with that.
Yeah. So we we do need more studies on people who are on medication doing this kind of work or doing cold water immersion. This is definitely something that in the future, this might be something that we would do in Thermalist, so do more studies on. But I want to say that one advice here doesn't fit all. So people have all sorts of like different kinds of medication, different kinds of conditions. So if you are stable with your blood pressure, usually that would not be a problem then you can do cold water immersion. But I would always say, if you are taking medication for your heart or your cardiovascular system in some sort, ask your doctor whether they know your history, right? So they know your full health history, and they would be better at advising, can you do this? So there is not one advice that I can say, well, if you are on this medication, then you are fine. So I would always be precautious about that and just say, well, it depends on your condition. It depends on your situation. But a stable blood pressure should be a good rule of thumb to say you can do cold water immersion.
Yeah, I see some people, of course, have some chronic problems, some chronic health conditions. So, for example, they have maybe some kind of problems with their prostate or with the bladder or several other things. So, is it safe for them? Maybe their bladder will become inflamed or start to hurt them when they go inside the cold water. What are your thoughts about that? Do you know what is bladder?
Well, yeah, I know what a bladder is, but I don't see how that is connected.
You don't see how it's connected?
No.
Because if you have some chronic condition, and you tend up to have some, this is again Croatian thing. I
don't know. I'm trying to figure out what you're asking me.
So in Croatia we say if you are weaker in some part of the body, which means that you have some chronic condition. For example, if your bladder is prone to get inflamed easily or something like that, if you go into the cold water, maybe it will turn it up again.
No. So okay. So, I see where your question is coming from now. Okay, so it's not like if you have a chronic condition that you per se is weak. That I don't like that picture. I don't like that picture. So if you do things that will make every cell of your body stronger, it will not weaken you. So of course you might feel tired if you are not used to doing cold and heat exposure. You might feel, or depending on if you do it recklessly or maybe you just do it too much. This is definitely also why I'm doing studies in this. So you can feel depleted, but doesn't mean that your conditions with your bladder or your
prostate or ovarians,
whatever condition, that will be weakened more. So what you're actually doing by using cold and heat as a way to activate that hormetic stress in every cell of your body is that you are making every cell stronger. You're cleaning it up by activating heat shock proteins that you do very well with the heat in the sauna, but you are also activating the hormetic stress in the cells, which makes them stronger in different ways. So cleaning up the enzymes, rebuilding the enzymes and proteins in your cells, and cleaning up the inflammation. So if you have inflammation, it could even just be, a tennis elbow or what we call it. It could be a chronically back pain. Actually, 80% of the population in the United States suffer from chronic back pain. So this is this is global, right? So people are sitting down so much. Everybody has chronic back pain almost. But people going into cold water won't get more back pain. They will actually get less back pain So the pain goes away because of less inflammation, better blood flow to the area where it's hurting. So you would also have cleaning up that inflammation that is there, and maybe also just getting rid of that extra fluid that is pressuring on your spine. So there's a lot of things going on, but that is only helping your cells, helping your nervous system, helping your metabolism, everything to repair. So if you have some kind of chronic inflammation somewhere, that should not make it worse. But you can, if you're new, feel tired afterwards. But it's just not the same thing.
So have you seen some benefits to the joint problems? So, for example, arthritis or things like that. I suppose that I do not suppose, I see that a lot of, especially older people, have severe joint problems.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people benefiting from doing some kind of temperature applying. It could actually also be ice bags. When people get injured, we try to stop that acute injury by putting ice bags on that particular spot.
Yep.
And that is to stop the inflammation happening. And inflammation is not only, that also happens when you are hurt. So you have that quick injury, you will have your immune system immediately going there, and white blood cells and a lot of fluid will swallow it up and make it swell, and that hurts a lot. So to make that swell less, you don't want all that plasma going at that place, so you put ice on it. So when you have a place where you have joint pain, you can also put ice to help that, or something cooler. It could also be wrapping something cooler around, but it could also be doing cold water immersion. Could also be actually heat is also helping. But to have that immediately acute effect, cold has shown to be very good for people who have joint pain.
It seems like the heat and cold exposure, it seems like it's almost like a silver bullet for a lot of things. I don't see a pill that we have in today's medicine that could help us.
Yeah, it's
solve
not a
so
silver
much problems.
It is not a silver bullet. Definitely not.
Yeah.
It is just to say, if you have to choose something to do in life, you have to exercise. You have to move. You definitely have to do that. But if you want to top it up and you want to get that extra improvement, it has shown, cold and heat has shown to be many times more beneficial when you do that all together. And nutrition, of course. So it's not that you can just single out one thing and say, this is the perfect cure for everything in the world. It's not. It's a combination of everything you do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I see that a lot of people are tying together, so cold, heat exposures with the exercise as well with the breathing exercises.
Yeah.
So can you say something about the benefits of breathing exercise, or do you do it, or do you do it when you go into the cold, for example, or afterwards, or? So
breathing exercise is something you could do. It doesn't even have to be connected to the cold or the heat. Breathing exercises helps you reduce your stress in the body. And there's a lot of studies around this. Just doing, you can say, box breathing, for example, in the evening. It's a very easy one. I always tell people when I do talks, and just do the box breathing. If you want to take something practical away from today, do a box breathing every evening if you feel like difficulty falling asleep, or you feel like your heart is just racing and you cannot really find yourself comfortable. And so that is an exercise, or nasal breathing. So nasal breathing is something you can train. Doing that by just going for a walk, 20 minutes walk, and only breathing through the nose. I was surprised. Some years ago, I found out that when people go for a walk, they breathe through the mouth. And I was like, what do I do myself? And I went for a walk, and depending on if I had my dog with me or not, I was breathing mostly through my nose. But when I bring my dog, we walk a little faster, and then I kind of switch between nose and mouth, but I would say that mostly I breathe through my nose, and was surprised to see that about 50% of people who just go for light walking, just going, just normal tempo, no rush or anything, they breathe through the mouth. And that is not good for your health, because that is telling your brain that you are in a hurry, that you are stressed. And when you breathe through your mouth, you activate your sympathetic nervous system. And when you switch to the nose, you tell your body that you are safe and you don't have to hurry. You lower your stress level, and you tell your body that you can be in that parasympathetic part of your nervous system, right? So switching from mouth to nose breathing can do a lot for your health. So
yes, I see people putting the what is the
mouth tape,
the mouth tape during the sleep.
Do you do that?
I do not do it, but I'm always, so my wife, I'm trying to influence her to go to see the doctor, because she is breathing through her mouth a lot.
Maybe you want to cut that out. Maybe she doesn't want you to tell people
It's okay.
She's not sensitive about it.
Yeah, she's not sensitive about it. Yeah, because I see a lot of people having this problem lately, you know. Not even during the walking, but even during sitting down. And there is no any kind of activity, exercise or anything, but they are breathing through the mouth.
Yeah, people working at the computer.
Yeah,
I noticed when I was working at corporate and also at the university, when looking around, and even myself, I do remember sitting at the edge of my chair, being so busy because maybe I had participants coming in a minute, and I was just it was just stressful, and I was breathing through my mouth, and it was not because I was running. So this is the difficult part. So ask yourself out there, if you breathe through your mouth without really running, even if you do that, then it's because you are activating your sympathetic part of your nervous system when you shouldn't, and that is not healthy. So if you are running and you breathe through your mouth, that's okay, because then you are exercising. But if you're just going for a walk or you're sitting by your computer, you should not be so stressed that you breathe through your mouth. If you do that, you need to do something to change it.
Yeah, I suppose that a lot of people are even breathing very shallow. They have a shallow breath.
Yeah.
And I suppose that it affects as well as their psychology too, not just bodily sensations, because you're always in this. I can catch myself doing this, especially when you're running around and having a lot of things to do. You start to breathe shallow. Then I catch myself and say, "Oh my God, I did not breathe in, had a regular breath in hours."
Yeah, it's true.
It's amazing.
True. So we start to go up here and only breathe halfway through, or maybe only a third way through. So we don't use the oxygen well enough. So our cells in the body hungering for oxygen, and we get colder because we tell the body, "Oh, you're stressed." So we contrast. What is that called? We close our blood vessels, and you can feel that when you're stressed, you have cold hands, you have cold feet, because your body is in that stressful condition. So if you want to, or maybe this is a question for you. So if you want to, what do you do? So when you take yourself shallow breathing during the day, what do you sit down and do some exercises?
I try to stop. I try to stop doing everything that I'm doing at the moment, and then just focus on my breath and calm down a little bit.
I do the same. I have to.
So it's amazing. So we started with the comfort. That comfort is making us sick, which is interesting. We go into the comfort, but in this comfort we are very. Our life is very fast. We are breathing very shallow, and we are sending signals to our psychology and physiology that we are in a stressful state.
Yeah.
We are always in the fight or flight, I suppose, maybe even freeze moments. So it's amazing that we are striving to go to the comfort, but the body does not see that we are comfortable.
No. And I mean, our biology cannot really keep up with the fast pace of our modern technological society. So, and it won't change. It's not like we will be different in a few years. It's just we need to adapt, and we need to we cannot do anything about technology. So we have technology, and we will always be curious. That's the thing. So we are fighting our own intelligence at the same time, right? Our body and our intelligence is maybe not really the perfect fit here, because we are striving to new things, and we want to develop, and that is how we survived. And then at the same time, we have this ancient body which cannot survive in this technological world where we can just sit down and we can have a work day totally not moving out of our space, and we can just do everything on a computer or sitting down. So we are working a bit against ourselves.
I can say a lot,
not
a little bit.
And what are we trying to do? Well, as I can say, as a scientist, we and I think I speak for a lot of scientists, that we are trying to figure out how can we find a way where we can still live in this modern world, because we cannot fight that. We do want development. That intelligent layer of it is not easy to fight, really. The curiosity of the human being, we can't stop it. So we need to find other ways where our body can follow it, so that we can still live and survive in a world that is so modern, always developing, because our minds cannot stop that.
Yeah, it's a trick to find a balance between one extreme, how we lived before, and go into that stress a little bit, and then find pleasure as well in the comfort that we created through technological advancement and things like that.
Yeah.
But what would you say about, so I see a lot of people doing dopamine detox. We are using our phones all the time, especially when we go in that's doom scrolling, whatever the term is, and our body is creating a lot of dopamine in those kinds of activities, and our dopamine baseline is much higher, I suppose, that it should be. So going into the cold or heat, how does it affect our dopamine levels? Is it somehow helping us with that problem, or?
I mean, I don't think that cold and heat can help anyone addicted to technology or dumb scrolling or anything. I don't think there's a link there. I'm definitely not going to fund that study. But I do see that addiction in some way is a dopamine kick in any way. So swapping that out with something more healthy, yes, that is definitely something I would say people should look for. And cold has shown to increase dopamine quite a lot, like 250% above baseline. But it's a very old study. I would say it's a very old study that has shown this, and we do need some new studies on it to show exactly what happens over time with this. If it's not going to make your dopamine worse or anything over time. No, it's just going to make it not that, you'd get adapted to it. So just like anything else, you get desensitized to it. So you would not have the same kick of going into cold water when you get adapted as you will in the beginning. And that's just the nature of your body. That is just how the brain works, right? It's just, we get desensitized to it. So I think that if you want to get rid of dumb scrolling or any other thing that you might be addicted to, technology is a good thing and it's a bad thing as well. I think you need to make some other rules. So I don't think you can swap it out with a cold plunge. maybe.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the dopamine levels in the body. I'm not saying that it will help you get rid of the habit of doing, but what it will do with the dopamine levels in your body.
Yeah.
But
it will increase it, definitely. It will increase.
But what do you see for your future? What would you like your work to do for the people? What do you see as an outcome of your work that will please you and make you proud of yourself?
Make me proud of myself. You know, I mean, that this comes. Yeah, many people. So people ask me, why am I studying this? Why am I so passionate about this? But it comes from something else. It's a long mission. It's a long passion of working on prevention. And it comes from way back when I was actually very young. My mom got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So it's maybe not that weird that I'm going in for metabolism. And we made a program for her to see if she could get off her pills and naturally get out of that type 2 diabetic condition. And within 6 months, she was able, with a program of lifestyle changes, to get rid of her pills. And now, more than 30 years later, she is still not on any pills. She doesn't clinically have type 2 diabetes anymore. And that is just by keeping her lifestyle healthy and just by adhering to that. So very early on, I was primed to know, well, actually metabolism, that is something that we can work on and we can keep ourselves healthy. Prevention. So later on, I just realized that if I keep working on understanding the body, how do we keep ourselves healthy? So when I was working at the hospital later on, when I was in my 20s, I just saw a lot of sick people coming in, and I was often asking them, or thinking, why are you here? You shouldn't be here. If you just knew how you could have lived your life, you wouldn't need to be here. And we did save some lives, but we also lost a lot of lives. And in that whole process of that, I just learned so much about people, about myself, about where I was in the system. And maybe I just felt a little bit misplaced. So I was debating this a lot with my colleagues, and they were, and I was also like very determined at some point, saying, well, actually I need to go back to university. I need to figure out what is keeping us healthy. And with that question, I went back, did a lot of studies. Today, I still have the same question. I don't think I'll ever have a real answer for it, but it's like the body, there's like essential parts of what is keeping us healthy, right? So one of the things I looked into was, where is the sweet tooth in the body? Why do we have that? That is the first question I asked when I went back to university. And I sort of like dived into that and did publish some work on that.
Sweet tooth.
The sweet tooth.
You mean eating sugar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe you haven't read my paper about that, but it was quite interesting that we have this. Maybe I shouldn't talk about that today, but it's another story. But apparently it sits in your liver, and it's a crosstalk between your liver and your brain. So it can definitely be something that we can control, and we do know today where or whether or who, you can say, who has a sweet tooth and who doesn't, and what they are prone to. So it's sort of like a big thing that we did a big study.
So it's a genetical thing as well?
It's also, that we looked. Well, we all have it. It's just about how many alleles do you have on that. It's called the FGF21 gene. Sits in your liver. It's increased from your liver. And depending on how sensitive your receptors in the brain is for receiving FGF21, you would either be prone to eating more candy or cakes, or eating more or drinking more alcohol. Actually, that's related, we found out. Or you will be very quick at the sensors in the brain will be very sensitive to receiving FGF21, and then you would not drink as much, you would not eat as much sweet, you won't eat as many cakes, or you might be more prone to actually eating something salty. Anyways, that was one of the questions. Then I moved on because I did see that there was something more regarding metabolism that I wanted to look into, and that was something called the brown fat. Because around the millennium, we discovered that people who had type 2 diabetes, they would get a better insulin sensitivity by just wearing cooling vest or going out in the cold, and that was by activating the brown fat. So I found that very interesting, and I wanted to figure out, is there some kind of applied thing that we can go out and give to these people that I met at the hospital, but I would have loved to met them before they actually got sick. So my work today is very much related on doing the research, keep doing that, but also going back to people and say, how can we apply this? Because good work in science doesn't really mean a lot to me if I can't go out and say, well, now we know this and we can apply it like that. But the thing is, just making applied research takes a long time. And I've been doing research now for, I don't know, almost 15 years. So it's like, and this is where I am today. So what I work on today is now making it applied. So I've made a system, which I call the thermalist system, you can say. This system is programs that are tailored to people so they can go into a cold and heat, you can say, program without being afraid of it not being safe, but actually getting the benefits acutely and long term. So these programs are there to keep people doing it in a safe way, in a beneficial way, and I do studies on it. So that means that everything I do is science-backed and it's science-forward. And it will also, in the future, be personalized in those programs as well. So that is what I work on in Thermalist. Thermalist is a system of contrast therapy, and it's going to... my mission is to define that category with health as the outcome.
Dr. Susanna, I'm wishing you a lot of luck in your work.
Thank you.
And I'm wishing you for a pleasant stay in Croatia. I hope that you will love it. And I hope that you will influence some of the people that is afraid of the draft and the wind. Here, I think it will help us a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Cool.
Cool.
I was trying to be